Hello, and welcome back to Genie podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and this is a longer episode, so we're going to skip the long intro and we're going to head right into it. I want to thank Ashley and Dalena for being on the episode. So, we're going to be examining Stripped from a feminist point of view. I do want to point out that at some point I was a ding dong and I did not record Ashley's audio from the beginning. So, there are some audio issues in the beginning, but it evens out at around the 20-minute mark. Sorry. But we'll just say that Ashley is here, and this is the first time we've had both of y'all, because separately,
The
y'all
first
been
time
here.
I'm meeting you in person.
Kind of.
In a way.
And then today we're going to be talking about the Stripped album, but from a feminist point of view. And so it's perfect that I have y'all on so y'all can lead this instead of a man telling
Defeats the purpose.
Yes. And I guess like the most simple or like the easiest, like low-hanging fruit for like the feminism is Can't Hold Us Down.
I think that's what introduced me to what feminism is.
Yeah.
Like it's never really talked about in my house. Like, especially, I guess we'll get to Beautiful because that one too. Stripped introduced me to a lot of conversations that was never exposed to before. So that's when I started asking questions like growing up. But yeah, I think I was like, whoa, is this a thing that actually happens? And then seeing the music video of like men and women coming together. But yeah, that was like my first intro to feminism.
Well, that one's so great because it has that double standard, you know, not just in the song, but also in the music video, you know, directly like that man is like touching her inappropriately and she's questioning the double standard, but also that came about I think she was trying to be vague but also address the whole like Eminem issue, which I'm gonna have to talk about in a separate one. She's been attacked several times prior to Stripped, you know, people calling her a slut and all kinds of names. But this is her really owning her sexuality and asking society, why is it this happens for women, but the same can't be said for men?
Absolutely. It was definitely a call out against Fred Durst, Eminem, MTV itself.
Yeah.
MTV banned the video. They banned it because at the end she put the hose in between her legs and used it like a metaphorical penis and wet the guys down. And now if you watch that video, still to this day, it is blurred out.
Really?
It is still blurred out. Yeah, if you look at like the hose itself is like blurred.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's too suggestive.
I feel like no one was doing that.
Around that exact same time, like her plight to get it unbanned was because I think it was the song Peaches. I cannot remember who it was by, Peaches and Cream. And it was a R&B video. And there was a girl on the hood of a car and they were pouring peaches and like peach juice on her body. And I think it had a little bit of cream in it and it looked very sus. And she was all like, this is okay, but this isn't. I think that's kind of like the whole message here, that you guys are just letting it go right over your heads. You're just seeing the superficial on the surface and you're not looking at what the problem is here. And they like unbanned the video, but they made it blurred. And that to me was like one of those moments where I was just like, wow, they really just didn't catch that at all, did they? Wow, MTV. MTV is such a source of what the heck for her career, I swear to God.
Yeah, it was very sabotaging.
Yeah, from their misquotes to their banning to their just lack of...
Well, even like the production, because like even even the kiss, how she got left out of that with MTV.
I defended her like that kiss at school. Like Christina did it too. Like it was just a thing. Like it wasn't just for Britney to get some star power. Like it was like a thing that they all did and agreed to do it at rehearsal.
Right.
So I was fighting for my girl that.
Because they had the rehearsal footage that later came out and it showed them like kissing. So like they knew they were going to do that.
It's funny because like Can't Hold Us Down was definitely a real interesting time in that space because there was so many R&B style videos. If you think back, like what was the one, D'Angelo?
Oh, where he's completely nude?
He was like nude from the top up And there was this whole like urban legend that he was getting serviced by a female. And that's why he kept looking down at himself, like while he was singing. And there was the Peaches and Cream video. And then there was a lot of R&B male singers at the time that were having a very suggestive style of music video, you know, and it was these like, it was the kind of the beginning of like really starting to tell stories with like music videos and stuff like that. Usher had a couple of pretty naughty videos and stuff, and it was an interesting time. David LaChapelle was the guy that did Dirty and did Can't Hold Us Down, or like directed it. And it was a very interesting, there was a whole lot of the visual, like people didn't get it, right? It was supposed to be set in 1980s New York. And it was like with the bright colors and like the whole Latinx and Black community of New York. And it was supposed to kind of represent that. And a lot of people got really upset about her, what they called it. They called it blackfacing to a degree and stuff like that. Yeah, no, like, and then if they didn't see it as blackface, they said she was pretending to be a Latina for a couple minutes, and then she left it alone again and went right back to her 1950s pinup style, you know, and Back to Basics and other songs. And it was very mixed on reviews for Can't Hold Us Down at that point in time. At that point in time, for me, I was living in Kentucky and I needed it. I needed that shit. 2002 in Kentucky was not exactly what I would call a feminist nation. Or like, there was not a lot going on. And at that point in time, I just had my son and given him up for adoption. And my life was very chaotic and confused. And I was trying to move forward and really learn who I was, right? Because that was kind of the whole idea behind having a child and giving them up for adoption at such a young age, because I was 16, was I wasn't ready to be a parent, but I needed to be, you know, figure out who I was going to be as an adult girl going into adulthood. And that album and Can't Hold Us Down, it got me out of there.
Yeah.
And it set me on a unique career path. I started at 19 working in the car industry, and I started doing paint and finish and other stuff like that. And then I did wiring harnesses, and I built engines, and I did lots of things. And then I started working at a car wash, and I was doing management and other stuff there. And then I ended up working at an RV place for a while. And I also worked at another place that sold car wash chemicals. And then I now make guitars. So I have stayed in my very progressive, like, male-dominated world.
Wait, how many times did you have to play Car Wash, the Christina one, while you worked at the car wash? Wasn't it like an anthem?
You know what's funny is the amount of times that people would come up to me and start singing that song. And I kind of, like, after a while, I couldn't listen to it anymore.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, no, it's so good.
I loved that song, too. Like, her, Missy, the whole thing, it was great. Angelina Jolie was in the movie, and I was like, oh, my God. And then there was pictures of Christina and Angelina together at the premiere. Oh, my.
I love Car Wash. I know that's not a feminist anthem. Actually, yes, it can be. About living, anyway.
But it was perfect that she had like Little Kim on it, because like how you said about hip hop, there were so many like male videos that were aggressive with their sexuality. And that's kind of like Little Kim. She was, you know, the forefront of that in like women's hip hop. And so it's perfect, like that collab, like they're both just being like strong women, like owning their sexuality against like society and men.
Yeah. I just feel if it would have came out at a different time, it would have been better received by the public.
And like an anthem, like it is an anthem, but I feel
the video like tells you what the song is telling you.
Yeah.
And I feel like music videos, at least this year, they haven't really been storytelling.
No.
Just visuals. So
was it not as big as I thought it was?
Tell me, because I was 7.
It was, but it was very mixed reviews.
Oh.
Like, it really, truly was. And it wasn't necessarily unappreciated, because there was a lot of people that went, wow, this is like really focusing on some interesting issues. But it was also, you know, like I said, a lot of people looked at it and felt that they have missed the mark on her end and David LaChapelle's end because of the black fishing and the Latinx fishing, and you know, that period of time, it wasn't necessarily quite as prevalent, or it's not as talked about as it is now, you know, like where people are saying cultural appropriation all the time.
I think that was my only problem with the video.
So much back then.
I think that was my only problem with the video, that it was kind of like cosplaying in a way, because she doesn't really dress like that ever. So I think that was like my only problem. I was like, you really didn't need to go full on.
But I think it's fine because like she's also playing a character, because like also like fighter, it's a concept.
Yeah, I guess it's too like true of a real person that it was just a little too.
And then even like with the hat, maybe I'll have to make some hats like Lady C. Remember the little like trucker hat? So she was putting on like a full like concept. It wasn't like her literally like her character. It was a character.
There was a little bit. She definitely had a moment where she was dressing more hip hop, and she kind of had a little bit more of what people call a black scent.
Oh, yeah,
which it was a weird little moment in time that I think she tries to like sweep under the rug.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what you're doing
there. It was in the script.
Everybody else kind of looked at her and goes, I don't know what you're doing. But like you said, it definitely was supposed to be kind of like a cinematic character, because it was supposed to be set in 1980s New York, right? It was supposed to have that kind of 80s style.
Yeah.
Because that was what David LaChapelle was going for. Mm-hmm. That was his vision for the video. And it was shot on a soundstage in LA. But, you know, I see both sides.
Yeah.
I see how, like, they were trying to do something, but I see how a lot of people could feel kind of, like, icky by it.
And also, in the early 2000s, everyone was doing cultural appropriation. Miss Gwen Stefani, everyone was. So I guess they never even really thought of it as anything wrong.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I still wouldn't have didn't like her, like, really going...
Well, I had my
full
friend
into the culture like that.
I had my friend Tamberlin on an episode, and we were talking about it because she acknowledged, and you know, she was there to like see it in real time. But she said, especially because how much like Christina has done, like what she credits like the Black community and like all the artists that have inspired her, she didn't think of it as much as like appropriating, as more like a appreciation.
I see that. It's like a very fine line.
Totally.
But I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's a different line.
It's definitely a fine line of like what's too much, what's too little. I mean, at least she is Latinx, but because she's such a white passing Latinx, a lot of people had a hard time with that, because there was Latin people obviously in the video as well, you know, and it was supposed to be the whole Latinx and Black community of 1980s New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she's been so respectful of like giving us 2 Spanish albums. Like she like loves where she comes from, especially Back to Basics also. So it's not like I hate her because she did this. Like, no, she's throughout her career, she's been consistent in like appreciating different cultures.
Yes, that's for sure. She definitely tries to show her love as much as she can for everybody.
Yes.
That's my friend.
And how you mentioned that also like Beautiful was kind of like your like empowering.
My empowering song was Cruise, track 13.
Okay.
But Beautiful was what taught me about like gay people. Like no one like told me about people? No one told me about like, but that was a thing. I was in Mexico. Like no, none of that was talked about, or like weight problems. Like it was like no, and then I got hit with all of them, so that was great. But yeah, everything in that video, I was like so flabbergasted. Is that the correct word? Yeah, flabbergasted of like so much information that I didn't know existed. Because you know, you're just in a little cookie cutter home. You just go to school, watch your cartoons. Your mom tells you loves you. Your family does, and it's like, okay, but then there's bigger things out there. Did that make sense? I just went on a rant. But I guess we're going to talk about Beautiful later.
I grew up in a totally different type of scenario. I was, I think, about 4 years old when my uncle passed away from AIDS. He was the first gay person I knew. And it was a very hard moment for my dad because my dad loved him to pieces. But Steve was great. You know, he gave me this absolutely stunning Japanese doll that was like in a glass case. I loved it so much. I had it for a long, long time before it broke in a cross-country move. And then my mom's dear friend, Jeff, I knew him as a gay man. When she met him, I was about 6, you know, so I knew about all of this stuff like from a very young age. So when I saw Christina's video and the 2 men kissing, like it didn't even like faze me per se. I was like, oh, look what she's doing.
But like,
you know, and then it didn't even dawn on me that was like the first time there was a kiss between a gay couple in a music video. And I was like, really? We're that far behind? My goodness. Okay, all right. That's fine. I remember everybody losing their shit in Kentucky. And I was just like, I can't be here anymore.
Yeah. Back to what you were saying, that Can't Hold Us Down was like your song that you wanted to get out of where you were. Mine was Cruise. Like when, like my parents did the best that they could. Yeah, my parents did the best that they could, and like they just took me to school, they took me to class, but they never really like gave me that like, oh, you can get out of here, you can do your dreams, you can do whatever you want. So that's why I relied on Strip, like in my when I was 13, 14, and hearing her say like, oh, she wants to break free and leave. Like I'd never heard that. No one told me that. So that album was like Makeover too. I know we're going to talk about it. Yeah. Like those were like the little wheels in my head and be like, okay, I hate this little town. I want to get out of here. I want to feel like the breeze, the hair. I want to feel free. So that was like my song. And I held on to it all of middle school, of high school, like just listening it over and over. Like, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. And like, as soon as I turned 18, I was like, I'm out of here. But that was like the song in the wheel in my head that just kept playing. Because no one was telling me, oh yeah, you can get out of here. You can leave. My parents just assumed I was going to stay in my hometown because like that's what everyone does. Like no one really leaves. But I had like this machine that I wouldn't really express to them because they just never had time to like really sit and listen to me, unfortunately. So I relied on Christina a lot to be like that older sister that I didn't have, to tell me, you can go do this, you can do that. No one has to stop you. No one's going to stop you. If you just want to leave, you have the free will to do so. So for me, that was like the engine to like get me here for now, and then we'll see where we go.
Absolutely. I remember there's so many songs like from beginning to end on that album that really has like a feminist edge, right? All the way down. Or, you know, an empowerment edge all the way down. And Cruise was definitely one that I remember listening to in my dad's crappy Volkswagen when I got back to California. I was 19. I put all my crap in boxes and I flew out. And that was what I did, was I just slowly started sending boxes of my crap. And my dad was just storing them at a friend's house because I was done. I remember we had a boombox in my dad's Volvo, and I put Cruise on, and we were going through the Hollywood, like, canyons, like Laurel Canyon or something. So, like, that song always makes me think of Laurel Canyon and freedom and the fully, like, the whole breeze in the hair, the whole shebang. And California is definitely where my roots are, but Vegas is where my heart is. Mm-hmm. I know that you don't really like Vegas, Christian, but my God, I love it there.
I think it's just because it just seems so... It's just capitalism to me. It's nice because there is shows and like all the artists go there, but it's just like, it just seems so like there's a lot of superficialness.
You just hate fun.
Once you go out to the desert, you go see Mount Charleston and you see the Red Rocks and you see enough sunsets out there and open. So
wait 1 second.
I don't think he's recording.
I'm gonna die. Because we have our mics recording, but there's also a camera behind like where I have my phone. So your audio was picked up on that. That's so annoying. I don't know how I forgot that.
Oh my God. I looked at it, I was like, wait.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh no.
We just had a deep dive on Cruise on the best album.
Yeah.
Where are we?
Well, how like you were saying with Cruise earlier, I was listening to that song because I feel like I skip it quite a bit. No, wait. I was listening to Soar.
I love Soar.
Soar is also like how you were saying earlier that it's one of the ones that has that like empowering feminism, like undertones. But that one just reminded me so much because I hadn't listened to it in a while that it's similar to like The Voice Within, especially like the bridge, I think is like just like very empowering, listening to yourself and like finding that strength within to do whatever it is you want to do with your life.
Yeah. Stripped was like the building blocks of like who I am because no one ever told me about following your dreams or doing all that kind of stuff. So Keep On Singing My Song. I cried. I heard it live for, what was it, The Experience? I never thought I would hear that one live. The Voice Within, Soar, Makeover, Fighter, all of these like made me who I am and want to like not settle for anything.
Yeah. It was very much, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, she was like the big sister,
totally
like
see
all
how
the
that
advices that I wanted was in that album. She was like I always said since middle school, the big sister I always wanted. Because I just had to like comfort myself.
Well, like how you were saying, those are like the, softer like ballads. She did give us Makeover. I think that was nice just because like she was angsty, I guess is the word. But like she was upset. And so that one is great.
I feel like Makeover and Fighter were definitely correlated to Steve.
Oh, yeah, the manager.
Steve, what's his name?
Kurtz.
Steve Kurtz, the old manager. There's some like old clips of how like when she first was coming out and whatnot. And she's all like, oh my God, there's fans. I want to see fans. I want to say hi. Like, let me, and she wanted to get up out of like the limo and like the little sunroof or whatever and say hi to people. And he's like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Where did I see that?
And he was like fully controlling her. And
it's a documentary, right?
I think I saw it on TikTok or something recently.
Was that the one we watched?
Yeah. Which one was that? Genie Gets Her Wish?
Yeah, it must have been.
Genie Gets Her Wish?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. But he was like very, very controlling. And then he was she ended up suing him apparently for like stealing money out of her like fan club or something along those lines. And that I feel is definitely like the breeding ground because we all know that Fighter, it's probably a collection of people and a collection of experiences. I don't think that it has really anything to do with George or Jorge, her first boyfriend, that we all know of, the dancer who was,
yes,
batting for the other team, and everybody's like, oh, it's about Jorge, and so like, I don't think so. I think what it is really is like she experienced that situation with Steve, and knowing that like, oh, these people who do you think have your back and you think they're there for you, they're not necessarily, so thanks for the experience. Thanks for teaching me how to, see through that. And a collection of other situations, that probably happened to her at a younger age coming into, it was the entertainment industry, as we all know, with the whole case that's being the very famous case that of the baby oil situation. We'll just leave it there. We all know that the entertainment industry is kind of weird and it's kind of shady. And we know that there's a lot of things that have happened to some very beautiful sparks. I'll just call them that. Like, right? Like there's beautiful people and beautiful sparks. And when you look at people like what's happened to poor Britney, what's happened to Amanda Bynes, what's happened to like many, I don't know. People even say Ariana Grande because she's part of that whole Nickelodeon thing too. There's a lot of ick in the industry. And I feel that when she comes out with these songs like Fighter and Makeover and these angsty kind of even Sick of Sittin' and these angsty moments, it's a collection of I've dealt with this experience and I wrote a poem and we just kind of made a song out of it, right? That's how I feel like those types of things. Because I don't think it's ever just one single person. I think it's a collection.
It's her most honest, I feel. I wish she could be. She hasn't really done an honest album in a while. But that's another conversation.
Well, I guess, kind of a liberation, but no.
Liberation, we got
Yeah, I guess. No.
Twice, which was beautiful, but she didn't write it.
Yeah.
I wish Sick of Sitting was a ballad.
I guess.
But I get why she was mad because she hated the voice.
Yes.
So I get it.
I don't get why everybody hates Sick of Sitting, because I actually love that one.
I love Sick of Sitting.
I am venturing more into pop music now than I ever really have. And the reason why I fell in love with Christina was literally because I watched her on the Mickey Mouse Club, and then I watched her do the Mulan soundtrack, and then she just came out, right? But I was never a Britney girl. I listened to Marilyn Manson. I listened to a lot of stuff. Yeah. And see, like, for me, like, because that was the hardest thing she did, right?
Yeah.
Like, Dave Navarro played the original guitar on it, and that's why he came out with her on the MTV Awards.
Yeah.
I love it when she goes into the darker area of rock and whatnot. I always thought that she was a rock singer that got posed as a pop girl. Yeah. I always thought that she was supposed to be on more of the level of Tina Turner than, Britney Spears. Like, I was like, why are we comparing these two girls? Like, she just got put into this weird pop package that I don't think she ever was supposed to be in.
I feel like she's never going to get out of it, unfortunately. Like, they just can't let that go.
No.
And like they're solidified themselves as so different, and still they keep bringing them in together.
Yep.
I don't get it.
Yep. And I've never understood it, but me personally, like, I think that it's funny because, like, I'm still to this day, like, mad at Amy Lee for, like, being such a punk back in the day, because she wrote Everybody's Fool. Amy Lee from Evanescence. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys don't know, she wrote Everybody's Fool about her sister and her sister idolizing celebrities such as Britney and Christina and all that. Amy Lee had, back in the day, coined Christina as, what was it? Queen Filthy McNasty, I think it was. And said that you don't have to be a porn star to sell records. And Christina's all like, I don't really want to misquote it, but I am going to condense the quote. Christina essentially said, yeah, I heard that. And honestly, like, I don't feel like I have to wear dark clothing and be fully covered up in order to be a feminist. So why don't you be a feminist from your point of view, and I'll be a feminist from my point of view. Mm-hmm. And we just leave it at that. Where still to this day, Amy Lee apparently likes to warm up to stripped because she says it's in her range.
Oh, yeah. I remember the Blender. She said that, right?
She's a great talent. Amy Lee believes that Christina is a great talent, but she still calls her a freaking porn star. And so, like, well, again, I like to always think of Still Dirty, right? If I want to wear lingerie outside of my clothes, if I want to be erotic in my own videos, if I want to be provocative, well, it's not a sin. Maybe you're not comfortable in your own skin.
I love that song.
And if you're talking about my life, you're only wasting your own time. That one's my favorite. I love Still Dirty. That was one of my favorites.
I hate Still Dirty. I think it's just because Dirty was so, like, in your face. And I like the message of Still Dirty. I just think I also hate the loop. Down, 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 down. Yeah, so I was like, and that loop is just too small, and it's so repetitive. It just gets in my nerves. Oh, I think the same thing.
I just love that song.
Here to Stay is also great.
Also, another song that gets on my nerves. Like, I like the song as a whole, but have you ever listened to Get Right? Obviously by Jennifer Lopez. Sorry. If you ever, originally that was an Usher song, and then he passed on it with different, I think, words. So it was just the music. So it eventually found its way to Jennifer Lopez. And if you ever listen to that song, like, without, so just the instrumental, it's so, like, grating. It's so annoying.
So is Single Ladies.
That sounds about right.
Like I said, I always felt like she was in the wrong category.
Yeah.
I always felt like she belonged somewhere else other than pop.
Yeah.
I didn't know why she got stuffed into the pop box.
It was
but
easily
she doesn't
to sell.
belong there at all.
Right.
It was one of those things.
It's like being a Disney Channel star. Once you get put in at the beginning, like, you can't escape it.
Well, it's also an interesting point for like feminism that like the executives, they wanted to profit off of this young woman. And so they just put her into the pop category because that was like blowing up at the moment. And like they won't let her be her own person, that you know she has to fit into this category, which is pop, or with she's a Britney like clone. Like it can't be nuanced. And so everybody just needs her to fit into this like mold.
And I just love that she just like went so opposite.
Oh yeah.
For Stripped. Like,
and I think
like,
also we would have never gotten Stripped because like she had to like swing the pendulum so like drastically. So like if she came out and she was like, you know, an R&B artist or whatever, neo soul or anything what she wanted to do, you know, whatever she came out with next probably wouldn't have been as hard as Stripped was, I think.
Yeah. Like if she did like the Lauryn Hill.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No, I love how dramatic she went. Because that got my attention. I was like, who is this now? And thank you for being my sister. What else? But I love Infatuation. I'm going to say that in every episode that I can. That's the best song ever.
I already liked it, but I think everything, so like Makeover and Infatuation, I added to my like favorite like recently. So those are on loop currently.
What else we got about talking about?
Those are good ones.
Yes. Also, besides the hats, is your eye makeup inspired by Stripped or that era?
Yes.
I thought so.
Definitely if I looked decent with like a little bandana on, or like if I had one of the cute scarves that she had back then, I would have done that. But I look really weird if I do that. So I just went for the hat.
Just imagine you sitting there with like the scarf top.
Oh, and I had her in the Strip DVD, I had her little speeches memorized when I was little. I can't remember them, but the feminism speech she gave before Can't Hold Us Down was super inspiring. You should put a clip of that. I was like, what was it? Oh, it's gonna bother me. I should have.
And then the one where she was before she sings The Voice Within.
And that one I was gonna say.
That one's a good one.
Yeah, that was my favorite one. I had it memorized.
So then when did you appreciate Christina like during debut? Because you said that you weren't like a big pop girl.
Good one.
Yeah, no, actually I did, because I recognized her. So like I said, I watched her at Mickey Mouse Club, and I saw the premiere. I watched the premiere of the Mulan's Reflection, like on Disney Channel. And I remember I was at my 6th grade, like the first dance of the year. I heard Genie. And I was all like, this voice sounds so familiar. What the heck is this? And I heard the name and I'm all like, wait, is that one girl? I'm all like, is she back? And it was Christina. And I looked into it. And the next thing I was like, oh my God. And I was more in love with Obvious. Obvious was my favorite song on that entire album. I always appreciated, because yes, I was much more into rock and stuff like that. My mom like listened to Heart, and I loved the female rock stars and all of it. I listened to a lot of Aerosmith. Aerosmith was my first concert. I went backstage and I met Steven Tyler because my dad knew Steven Tyler back in the 70s and stuff like that.
Fun fact.
My dad was really good friends with a guy named Zunk Bucher back in the 70s, and Zunk is what I would consider my uncle. Steven Tyler and my uncle Zunk grew up in Lake Sunapee together. And I mean, my uncle was there the day that Steven Tyler met Joe Perry. So it was a whole thing. But my mom loved Whitney Houston, you know, and my dad had Mariah Carey's first album on vinyl, you know, so I did have this. We had Selena in the house growing up because of my stepmom, and we had Gypsy King. We had lots of different kinds of music, but my predominant big area was rock, right? So, but yes, I did enjoy her because she, from the Mickey Mouse Club, was my escape from my crappy childhood, right? Because like I saw this girl up on stage doing essentially what I wanted to do, right? Because when I was little, I wanted to sing. And she had this big voice and she was beautiful and she was dancing and having fun and doing all this stuff that I thought that was everything that I was going to be or wanted to be when I was like 6 years old. I latched on to her then. She was my favorite then. Like, and
isn't it crazy how we just like latched onto her?
Followed her, and I've followed her ever since.
It's a trauma
you
bond.
know, and like, but it wasn't until I was a lot older that I realized that Christina ever had any of those moments in her life. You know what I mean? I was just looking at her and admiring her, thinking that her life was so perfect and she was doing what I wanted to do. And it was my escape, right? Because I didn't tell my friends about my situation at home and nobody knew what was going on and everything else. And, you know, she's always been there for me at this point. You know, I've always admired her. And when I found out how similar our childhoods were, it made me really latch on even tighter, you know. And it's just at that point, it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm a fan for life. I don't care. You do whatever you're going to do and I'll still be there.
I know. I was just thinking that. Like, I'm latched on for life.
Well, let me get y'all's opinion because in the last episode, I mentioned that, you know, everybody labels Christina as a bitch or, you know, she's so cold and whatever. In my head, it's because, you know, she had such a traumatic childhood and that, of course, like, you're less willing to like trust people, to be less open because, you know, she's been hurt by these people that should have like been supportive of her. And then because we were talking about Britney previously on the podcast, that's probably why people are always comparing the two, and that Britney's always the sunshine and the happy one, and Christina's like, oh, she's the bitch. What are your thoughts on?
I think she just went through so much. She just has like a safety guard because at the end of the day, it's her job. So she doesn't owe us to be exactly the ball of sunshine. She's still at work and she's talking to strangers every day in interviews. So she doesn't owe them. And she's been stepped on their whole career. So underrated. I think it's not being a bitch. It's just having your boundaries set. And I think that's why she's lasted so long and so still successful and continue to be this ball of encouragement to all of us because she knows where to put her boundaries. And she never says no to a photo with a fan from what I've heard. Like, she's very friendly, but it's just when it's time for like work, she has that boundaries. Like, we're going to talk about what we need to talk about and I don't need to be this Southern girl and like yippity ha. Like, her fans get her, and I think that's all that matters.
Yeah. Personally, can definitely say with growing up with violence in the household and then growing up or even growing up and being an adult and dealing with my own violent situations, it builds walls. And there are times where I'm very open and ready to just be like, yeah, let me tell you my whole story. And there are times where suddenly I shut down and I don't want anything to do with anybody. And it's unpredictable, you know, and trauma comes out in weird ways sometimes, you know, and she's obviously been through way different things than I could ever even imagine. I have no idea what it's like to have thousands of people yelling for you, trying to grope you, trying to expect pieces of you. Everybody wants a piece of you. Everybody thinks they're special and that their story needs to be heard. And she does her best with it. You know, I even I even fall into the category of maybe she'll care because of what I have to say type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, we all want to feel seen by that person that we feel so connected to, but we're not necessarily connected to this person. We are connected. They are not, you know?
Yeah.
And she definitely has her boundaries set. But she's still so kind to us, or at least she tries to be as much as she possibly can be, like while still protecting herself as much as possible. I'm sure we all saw the situation that happened down in Brazil.
Oh yeah.
Where she was signing autographs and some guy groped her and then he kissed her.
What?
Yeah.
No,
it
I didn't see
was
this.
So
what?
unnecessary.
Send me the video.
Okay.
I just read that it just got really intense and she had to go. I didn't know that happened. Okay, I need to look this up.
It sucks because, like, if you listen to the video, like, and turn it up really loud, I turned it up really loud and I put my earphones in, you can hear her say, "Help me," as soon as the guy grabs her.
Oh, really?
Because he grabs her and he, like, touches the side of her boob, right? Like, he's, like, right here. And she's little. It's still a guy. He still grabs her and kisses her real quick. And it's all like, whoa, violation much?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things. If you guys keep doing this crap, this is why she will never come outside again.
Yes.
Stop it.
I need that album. Jesus, thank you, man. Oh, she got uncomfortable.
Yes, that's so inappropriate.
But she still kept it straight
People are
face.
trying to write it off, too.
That's so crazy.
Like, oh, he was gay. He was just being nice. And it's all like,
oh, she
no,
ran to that car.
He just took advantage of a situation.
Yes, oh my gosh.
Yes, she did.
Like, where was her security guard? Like,
He was like pretty far behind.
he was fired.
That was the last appearance that she did with her fans in Brazil. She didn't do any more signings in Brazil after that.
Really?
That was it. It just took one guy to ruin it. And I don't blame her. Later on, this was really sweet. Later on that night, because she didn't want to go out, you could tell she didn't want to go out after that. Matt went outside and he collected a bunch of stuff from, So he went out and collected a whole bunch of stuff from fans, and he took it back up to the hotel room, and then he brought it all back downstairs. It was a lot. Like, that kind of situation, I have no idea what that's like to be pawed at.
In Hispanic countries, that is so normal because I've seen Mexican fans and artists, and they do that. Like, they're okay with the kiss on the cheek. I think it's like the cultural difference that maybe, hey, he shouldn't have done that because she's not familiar with that. But I know it's definitely a culture thing, because I know in Mexico I see like Dana Paola or whatever, like they do kiss the fans and do all that. But I think it was just like not the right person to do that with.
Oh gosh. Plus, it's like not sanitary. I don't
know. It's a Hispanic thing, but for sure, yeah, probably not with her because she's not accustomed to that type of greeting.
There was definitely a lot of people were saying it was, it's a culture thing. She's in Italy, and it's all like, one, she's in Brazil, but two,
But you shouldn't just risk it like that. Yeah. Not defending him because he ruined it.
We tend to have a lot more space needs.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
I don't know.
That's
She's
crazy.
also an abuse victim, like she grew up with abuse, and that kind of stuff freaks you out when you're like traumatized from your childhood.
Exactly.
It's scary. I don't think the guy had ill intentions, but it definitely came off poor.
Well, let's get both y'all's opinion on like stan versus a fan. In this example, maybe that guy, it's just like, of course you can be a huge fan, but you also shouldn't, I'm not going to touch this woman. I'm not, also people on like Twitter where they have unhealthy like relationships with the artist. And so like, we'll chide her for like, oh, it's coming, like the album. But these people are like, oh, Christina's this and that. Like, where's the album? What is she doing with all her time? Like,
it's just, I think it just comes down to the person, because I do have a parasocial relationship with her. Lord. Like, I love her like a sister, but I would not go to those extents of bullying her online. I mean, I did at the beginning, not crazy during the middle of The Voice and Liberation.
Is that why she has the restraining order against you?
We can't talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I just think it comes down to who you are as a person, because you can have a parasocial relationship to an artist, but like, know that why are you wasting so much energy hating on someone you supposedly love?
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't make any sense. They're just very intense for what? Like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I want the album.
I see it from both sides. I know where she's at to a degree. I think that I understand where she's at mentally, right? Because she's a mom. I know that as being a parent myself, I have a 13-year-old. She has Summer's 11, 10, 11, something like that. Max is like 16 or 17. So she's got one younger one and one that's like getting ready to like actually start going out into the world. And that's scary on its own. And then she's got another one that's very young, but it's a little girl. Her main focus after she became a mom changed, just like it always does. It always changes. And especially because she had such a rough childhood, she wanted to make sure that that was where it was all going to go, because she wanted to make sure that those children did not have any type of childhood like that. That was what I imagine is her goal. When was it that she finally started doing a lot of shows again? I guess it was
With
in
Liberation.
2018.
Yeah.
With Liberation. And I actually criticized her myself because I was giving her all of the trash about like not changing her set list, and I completely forgot about Liberation. Liberation was such a completely different set list because it actually included songs from the album. And even The Experience included songs from Liberation. And you were right. Like, she was doing festival circuits for the most part. But even when she did a couple festivals, she did the New Orleans festival, and that like had a completely unique set list because she did Sugar in My Bowl. She did the Led Zeppelin covers. She did The Thrill Is Gone. She did, oh God, something else too, but I can't remember right now.
So yeah, like she can cater those
Husband.
set lists.
Yeah.
But so for the most part, they want to hit hits.
That's a concert I wish I had seen, man. But either way, like, I was giving her all different kinds of shade because she hasn't really changed her set list. But in all reality, she kind of has.
Yeah, because she had added Aguilera songs.
Has gone back to a variation of that set list, though, now, because she has been. But even with The Experience and then with the Voltaire, those were different set lists. It's just when she does festival,
it's for the masses,
you know, or like these one-off kind of concerts like she did in Brazil and Japan and whatnot. They all have a similar set list. But when she does something specific, like The Experience, Liberation, Voltaire, X Tour,
Liberation was a great set list.
Liberation was a fantastic set list.
Keep on Singing My Song was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I love that.
That was like the first time, right?
Yeah.
And we got a lot of stuff. We got like Deserve. We got Maria. We got Twice. We got a full version of Twice too. Oh God, I miss that song so much.
Yes.
She did Differently every night, and I loved it.
It was a fun time. That was a fun concert that she did.
Even Unless Is With You made it in.
That I couldn't go there.
Unless It's With You made it in the set list where she's wearing like a wedding dress,
and then
Unless
she like
It's With
turns
You.
That was I love that song.
I love it.
That's gonna be my wedding song.
Me too.
But I have to meet a boyfriend first.
I know. I got ghosted yesterday, so we're back to square one. So that song's still on the playlist.
Oh darn.
The fan, we have weird expectations that we like to try and put on these people, and I see it all the time. And the only thing I really truly wish she would actually, like, if she's actually working on something, like, actually just say it. If she wants to take time off, tell us. I saw somebody say, I wish she would just retire. And I was like, whoa, that's rough.
Jeez.
They're like, she never says anything. She never does anything. I'm like, she's not retiring. She's just taking a moment.
Yeah.
She worked a lot last year, and I'm fine with that. So that's January, February, and now April, she's done something, so.
But there's fans that are just not happy. It's never enough for them. So no matter what she does, it's never going to be enough or what they actually wanted. For me, it's just as long as she never stopped.
But again, assuming anything about her life is only wasting your old time.
Yes.
I hear that all the time. It repeats in my head. Or my other favorite is You Don't Own Me, which was, of course, like a little nudge at us as well as anybody else in the industry. Like, you don't own me. Like, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. See yourself out.
Yeah. And then also, like, the caption for that video for the New Year's Eve, just like, nobody's going to be happy with what you do either way. So just be happy with what you're doing for yourself.
So messy. I love that.
I love it.
It was so good. Very refreshing because she's never been that transparent.
On the same note, though, like, at the end of Voltaire, like, you were there, Christian. She stopped in the middle of Beautiful, and she said that she was closing that chapter and she was moving on to the next for more new music.
Yeah.
Right. So she's not retired.
No.
She is in the
she
process,
wouldn't.
but her process is one where she has to step away from it and then come back to it. The amount of stuff that's in the vault
No, yeah.
that we will never hear.
Right.
I sit there sometimes and I'm all like, Summer, please release that when your mom is no longer here and we all are still sitting here going, please.
I know.
But not the Pink collaboration.
Oh,
just to be petty.
please. Not the Pink
Yes.
collaboration? Oh, God.
Just to be petty.
Yeah, she must have that in a vault somewhere. Oh, my God. That hurt my soul because, like, I don't understand why in the world. I did like Pink. She was like the other, like, pop star that I liked, right? 2002 was a good year because Misunderstood came out and Stripped came out. At least it was a good year in music. It wasn't a good year personally, but it was a good year in music. And I didn't know really anything about the whole feud that they had until quite a long time after that. And they had made up on The Voice, right? They had made up, they got all chummy and everything was fine, blah, blah, blah. And then Pink's new album came out, Trustfall. And then she wanted to just, like, I don't know, have some promotion. So she reopened that weird wound for absolutely no reason.
Unprovoked.
And it was so unprovoked. And that was why Christina comes out and she's all like, stop poking at me for unnecessary reasons. And she was on Call Her Daddy. She's like, stop it. Just leave me alone. I'm leaving you alone. I want to be left alone. Otherwise, the claws are going to come out. Mama's not going to play. And I don't blame her. It's completely unnecessary. And I have a feeling that's probably why that album that particular record will never see the light of day. And you know what? That's fine, because she might have burned the master at this point.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't think it even exists.
No.
One more experience to make her sit there and go, just another little brick in the wall, little mortar on the brick. Just,
yes.
never mind. Don't need that.
No, she stands her ground, and that's why I love her.
Yes.
The amount of people that always say, oh, she's so mean, and she's so this, and she's so that. It's like, not really. They made her mean.
Yeah,
they made her tired. The amount of times that people came up to her and asked her not about her album, but about somebody else's career, about somebody else's accomplishments, about somebody else's crap. And she's like, I'm doing stuff.
Yeah. And she was bubbly. She just had like...
Maybe ask me about my...
After we watched the Genie in a podcast, we were talking, I was like, wow, she was like so bubbly and eager and like was so open to everyone for any questions. But you can see through all like the letdowns and the steps that people took on her and stabs. Like she just knew she had to just bring it back. And that's why people think that she's a bitch, because it's just a 180 of like super bubbly and open into I'm going to answer these questions and that's it. And I think that's why people are just so confused. We're so confused of why it just happened.
Because of situations that happened with Eminem and with Fred Durst and those like guys coming in and saying whatever they wanted and her trying to rebuttal it, she was like, I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I have to rebuttal.
Yeah. You have to understand the lore
because
to get
she
her.
had done that. I am more open about my like for whatever music I listen to now, because I have been given so much crap in my lifetime for liking Christina.
Yeah.
Because I was a rock girl. And they're all like, you like Manson and Christina Aguilera? Like, how does that work? And I'm all like,
my
easily,
ears say
I just like it.
Yeah.
Or the Britney fans that would give me crap because I had Christina Aguilera stickers on my notebooks at school. Like, ew. I was like, oh my God, really?
Yeah, it was actually exhausting.
You go ew yourself, seriously.
Yeah, in middle school I was bullied a lot for that.
I've been bullied plenty enough and I don't care anymore. I just don't care. So
as a grown up now, like, you were 12 making fun of me because of the music that I listen to in my ears. Mm-hmm. Like, you cannot be serious.
Well, as a, like, at the time probably was not out, but definitely like hid the album, like Stripped or Debut. Mm-hmm. And so like in my Walkman or whatever, so I was like, what are you listening to? I was like, mind your business.
An audiobook.
Yes.
Yeah, it just makes no sense how we were bullied for liking like music. Because that's like a personal journey or a personal choice. Like I'm not making you listen to it. Yep. Like it's literally me And yeah, like in science class, I remember people just would make jokes about Christina. And I'm like, okay, and what? Like, I'm still going to listen to it. Mm-hmm. It just never made any sense. Now that I'm a grown up, like a 30-year-old, like, no, kids are mean.
Well, it proves that like she's so polarizing, and she was like a feminist back whenever it wasn't like trendy. It wasn't like
that's why it hit her hard, because no one was doing it.
Yes,
and I think that's why she became an underdog, because she was talking about everything that no one was.
And then we have to thank her mom for it, because like she never would have been like this like force for women if she didn't see like her mom go through all of that and like really had to like escape it to be that strong woman and have that example set for her.
For sure. We love moms.
Yay. I'll say this. There's not a lot of child stars that are in the business as long as she has been, with such minimal scandal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the only thing that they really have on her, other than her being cold, is she got arrested because she was intoxicated as a passenger, in a vehicle. Yeah, they got her mugshot. That made them happy, man. Jesus criminy. And, and then I love Pink had to chime in. Look, Ma, no cuffs. Oh, shut up.
Oh, Grumpy. Right. I forgot she did.
Go be a hypocrite somewhere else, dear. I love Pink. I really do. But man, she can be hypocritical.
Totally.
Considering her past. Like, give me a break, honey.
The blow-up dolls in her concerts.
Dude, yeah. Considering the what she would do, sing beautiful to the blow-up doll, and then she would like rape it, essentially. It was like, come on, girl. Like, seriously? Like, let's not dive too far into your past, because it's not cute.
I'm not a Pink fan because of that. Like, you can't come back from that, I think. No matter how much growth I feel. Because she was like 25. Like, you're still an adult already.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't a kid.
She must have really hated her to do that.
Yeah, it's so pointless.
Do we have any more to say about feminism and Stripped? I think we covered everything.
I think we covered it all.
Yeah.
I think it's a very
empowering album. I feel like it was baby feminist, Christina. Like, it was like her really dipping her toe or foot into the pool of feminism, right? She obviously grew more and more into it as each album and as she aged and whatnot. That's why.
But I think it would put into the words for us to understand it. Like, I understood what she was trying to say. And I think it was just very bold and important. And it taught me a lot that no other artist has taught me about feminism and being who you are and accepting yourself, and whatever you want, you can get it. Like, she was like the building blocks, like I said, of my life. The advice is that I always wanted to hear, but I never knew where to get it. And I knew that just going into that album, it would help me become like a stronger person. It's crazy how like music can do that.
I always say, Madonna crawled so Christina and Britney could walk.
Or they could slut drop.
Oh my God.
Madonna could walk so they could slut drop.
And so, and then they walked, and then Gaga ran, and then, Chapel Roan and freaking Sabrina Carpenter are running marathons now. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's mainly women who are really pushing the envelopes. Like, sure. I can't think of a historic, important man to music since Michael Jackson. Like, I cannot, in the last, at least 25 years, 30, of a man pushing an envelope forward to help other guy artists come in and build off of them. So I feel like that's why it's music. Like, last year was a very big year of music for women. Like, I think only women were nominated, because I feel like they're like the ones that want to keep going and pushing.
Yeah, I'll agree to that. That is interesting. I didn't even really think about it like that, because it's such a male-dominated world that you think of, but there are a lot of women, and a lot of women that are influenced by all these girls that have come before them. I mean, all these women that have come before them.
Yeah. Well, actually, so
yeah.
Well, to her point, it's like how men haven't really pushed the genre forward. I guess also things are less expected for men. So when we have who was it? Really any female artist, they're giving it their all. They have to have the intricate costumes. They have to have the choreography. They have to sing, you know, and dance. And then something I'll relate it to is like more recently with like Christina's contemporaries, like Backstreet Boys. They'll be singing at like a mall or something, and you know they're like middle-aged men, and of course you know they look like middle-aged men.
Festivals.
Yeah, but with Christina, of course, you know she has to be on top of her looks and dancing and singing, and people will still be like, you know, she's a flop.
Yeah, because she's selling out of stadiums in other countries, and it's still somehow now not enough.
No, so that's why it's like for the best that like for her, like she has her own like inner peace.
And it's great that she has it because you can tell. Because she's still so sane, so centered.
Yes.
She knows who she is.
Women are like the, not cornerstone, like they are the building blocks of like the pop genre.
Yeah, for sure.
And that they need more respect in general.
Yeah. And I think that just comes, fans just need to look in themselves.
Yeah.
Because if the fans could respect them, I feel like that could be a good turning point. Because it's just so messy.
Yeah.
Online. We love her.
I'll agree with that. All of that. Very much looking forward to seeing more feminism and more camaraderie with all the girls and see where this all takes us.
Totally.
For sure.
Yes.
The next 25 years, see where we are.
If we live that long.
Right? It'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being on this episode.
Thank you. Nice to meet you finally.
Finally, I know, right? It was good to meet you too.
At the next tour, I told them like we'll
have to all pick a date.
Pick a city and meet.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So now it's in Christina's hands.
Yes. Now we just need the album or the tour to happen.
Just wait for the tour.
Well, thanks a bunch.
Right? Yeah. It'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe everywhere at Genie in a Podcast.